Well, hey everybody, this is Chris DiFurio with Keys to the Shop. Welcome to another edition of Shift Break. Today's episode is brought to you by the amazing La Marzocco, who has been making espresso machines by hand in Florence since 1927. I love La Marzocco. They're so dependable, they innovate constantly, and they're all about serving the specialty retail community all of these almost 100 years. And it's evident in the fact that their machines are basically the cornerstone of some of the world's best coffee bars and have been for a long time. Machines like the KB90 espresso machine that has the straight in-locking portafilters for ergonomics, scales in the drip tray for accuracy of extractions, and also the auto flush feature for cleanliness of the group head and workflow improvement. It is really an example of many different kinds of machines that have been created, obviously, with the end consumer in mind. Helping you be successful as a shop owner and operator is what it's all about, and I would encourage you, if you're looking to upgrade your equipment or start off with the best, definitely reach out to one of their salespeople to let them help you select the right equipment for your store. You can do that by emailing info@lamarzocousa.com, and I would encourage you to peruse their website at lamarzocousa.com. Now, today's episode is also brought to you by Espressly. They are creating custom-branded mobile apps for your coffee shop over at espressly.co. They are motivated by really supporting and cheerleading the specialty retail community, the independent owner and operator like yourself, by marrying the technology and convenience of mobile ordering with the branding and feel of your business. This is the perfect combination and a great option if you're looking to really serve your customers and extend options to them in a way that speaks the language of your business. So it's a no-risk model. There's no setup or development fees. You get a drive-through payment scanner, receipt and label printing capabilities. All the data is stored in the app, and it integrates with some of the world's best payment processing systems, including Square. So this is a really great opportunity. I would encourage you to reach out to them and have them get started on your app today. Reach out at espressly.co. That's espressly.co. Okay, everybody. Well, I wanted to talk to you today about language and understanding and how it relates to hospitality. And here is what I am thinking. You know, in the coffee bar, we are oftentimes presented with, and I say oftentimes, daily, we are presented with opportunities to, get outside of our own vernacular, our own way of expressing an idea, and get into the mind of the customer and figure out how to communicate to them in a way that is going to resonate and not only get them what they want, but get them something that they're going to love. And in order to do that, we have to really be listening to understand what their desires are. And what we have done, I think, is made it almost like a game of, if they guess the right thing, then we will give them the right thing. But if they don't say the right words, we kind of inwardly snicker about the way that they said it or their lack of understanding. And so we aren't really agents of understanding. We're not bringing clarity. We're not bringing understanding at the cash register to people. Oftentimes what we're doing is we're saying, okay, we're just putting up with people. This is unfortunately part of the way things have developed in our coffee shops. And some of it is out of self-preservation, and there are always customers who are going to refuse to say the right things, or they are confusing in the way that they order, and serving the public can be kind of hilarious. But the thing that I want to highlight here is that in spite of the frustration and hilarity that is, the many interpretations that the public has about what we do, it is a constant. It is an always present challenge that we will either grow from or devolve from. When I'm training people, and also on coaching calls with clients who are opening their first coffee shop, what we're talking about often is, well, what is the current understanding of coffee where you are? And sometimes the response I get in return is more of a chiding of where people are in their community. Oh, they just know Starbucks. They don't know good coffee yet. But when we come out and we do our coffee, it's going to be like, wow, this is so amazing, and we're really going to show them, almost like we're going to open up our own little like specialty coffee colony here. It's almost imperialistic the way that we do this, ironically, considering coffee's history. But in a coffee shop version, there's a lot of derision thrown in the direction of current understanding that people have. The fact is that they just don't speak the same language as us, right? And yeah, okay, maybe they do speak the same language technically in terms of, culture. Maybe if everyone speaks English, they're still missing each other because they're not kind of using the same kind of words, but they're after something that we do actually have. A classic example, of course, would be, do you have caramel macchiatos? And we are just so tempted to tell them, well, actually, macchiato is Italian, means marked with milk. And so we just want to go off on our soapbox about this, because whenever do we get a chance to lecture the public about our nerdy coffee stuff? And so how could we pass the opportunity up? But the opportunity is actually there to not educate them about Italian words and their true meaning, but we are there to serve them something that they're after. And if we can look past their actual words and try to understand the meaning of what they're saying by asking questions, we can get to it. It may be that they're looking exactly for Starbucks caramel macchiato, and we can offer something that's as close to that as possible, right? And that would be a good outcome. And we do what we can within the constraints that we're operating in, and they're trying to ask us as best they can within the constraints that they're operating in. So we're both trying to meet each other and say, let's have a coffee moment that we enjoy, right? Now, here's where things get very real. Now, we're not just talking about how people understand coffee and the quote-unquote language that they use when describing it. This also goes into actual language. If we are practicing derision towards people that we don't understand now, how do you think it's going to happen when people come in and they literally speak a different language than us? When they don't have your home country's language as their first language, the first thing that will happen in us is the thing that we practice the most. And that is sort of a throw your hands up in the air moment that equals like, I don't know what they're asking for. I can't, and we won't have patience in that moment when somebody comes up and they are hearing impaired. I've had many customers in my time, regular customers, who I know how to interact with. I haven't learned sign language myself. I really probably should. I'm meeting them with already an understanding that this interaction is going to be different. There's going to be a different cadence. There's going to be a different time frame. And if I am in a hurry, if I am impatient, and I am used to sort of not even extending understanding to people that speak the literally same language as I do, how am I going to receive the public when people come in from other cultures in a way that is serving them well also? So what we do in the more accessible and more frequent opportunities will be more like what we do in the more infrequent opportunities, when you have to use a little bit more discernment and patience than you would in just trying to figure out what somebody is talking about if they're just speaking from a different menu selection of a different company as a quote-unquote language. So what I'm getting at here is that if we want to continue to welcome the world into our coffee shops, if we love diversity, if we love to include people, part of that is going to be doing the work to create space within our expectations of our energy and time and how the interaction will go, to be flexible, to pivot, to work at creating moments of understanding rather than just delivering information and pushing people through the process and in feeling like this tinge of like, oh, get me out of this situation. This is really awkward, that kind of thing. If our desire is to understand what somebody is getting at and how we can best serve them with what we have, I think we're going to be in a better place. And let's just face it, there is also a great opportunity for you in your community to teach your staff literally a different language. I would really love to see more coffee shops, and there are people who do this also, that they learn sign language, or they learn certain words and phrases in the language of a group that is coming into their coffee shops. Like close to me, for example, I know there is a large contingency of Ethiopian people who frequent the coffee shop on Woodlawn in Louisville, Center Gas Coffee, because on the south end of Louisville, where I live, there are, about 110 languages spoken. There's a lot of refugee resettlement. And because of that, I have seen the coffee board actually in their language, as well as in English. And I know that some of the baristas are able to communicate to the point where they can get people what they need. And so that would be really awesome to see. Not only that, but look at what your community already understands about coffee, and make sure that when the customers come in, and it's not a actual language barrier, but it's a language of coffee description barrier, your baristas are versed enough in your competitors' menus and other just kind of universally understood coffee vernacular into something that they can understand as your baristas, and then get the customer something that they're going to love. So just some thoughts on this, and I would really love to know if you have examples of coffee bars that do this really well. Especially, if you're in a community where there's a lot of refugee resettlement, and there are people who are either bilingual or speak multiple languages, or are able to sort of teach those of us who only know one language, like myself, how to communicate with the tapestry of people around the coffee shop in that neighborhood. I would love to learn more examples about that. So I hope that you found today's episode interesting and helpful, and I will see you here next week on another edition of Shift Break. From keys to the shop.